Welcome back to the Coronavirus in Kansas Small Business Survival video series. I am Matt DeSarl. This week we will be focusing a lot on real estate and how it's affected here in Kansas. Our first guest is Mike Warner. He is the co-owner of Construction Specialties in Lawrence. Mike, how are you?
Good morning, man. How are you?
Doing well. So, Mike, how would you describe your business under normal circumstances?
We are a residential remodeling company based here in lovely Lawrence, Kansas. We specialize in kitchen and bathroom remodeling primarily. We're a full service company, however, so we do all kinds of interior and exterior residential remodeling projects.
So, how would you describe your how the pandemic is affecting your business?
Well, early on it was kind of scary. You see all the stuff that's happening, and then you've got a challenge of trying to get everybody to kind of buy into what you're seeing. So we spent a lot of time talking within the company about what was going on and everybody's concerns and things like that. But as far as just overall changes and effects, we've just kind of doubled down on our normal protocol, being a very clean remodeling company. We had a lot of the tools and equipment for I guess a little higher level cleanliness as far as HEPA filters and negative air machines and things like that. So we've just kind of used that a little bit more, as well as just kind of increased the protocol as far as what we're doing while we're in the home and after and before and all those things too.
So, one of your natural competitors normally is the do it yourself homeowner who will fix his or her home themselves. Are you seeing more of that now that folks are staying at home? Are you seeing more of that pressure on your own business?
A
With
little bit. It's also kind of interesting because what we're what one of the challenges that's a little different than normal is now people are staying at home. So, in the few jobs that we have been finishing since this pandemic has started, while we're kind of transitioning to outside work, the customers, the homeowners are home a lot more. So they're paying attention to what we're doing and they're coming into the work zone a lot more. Some extra challenges on that end that make the customer service in potentially just a little more challenging, or just a different environment on that end. So that's more the seeing is just a lot more potential interaction with critical homeowners in certain scenarios.
So, do you find yourself reminding the homeowners about social distancing guidelines?
Yeah, we early on during this, I called every single one of our current customers, and we emailed or called all of the customers that were, down the road, and kind of let them know. And I basically threatened all the customers with leaving their jobs unfinished if they didn't follow the social guidelines, social distancing guidelines. And they were all very, very understanding, and it was, lighthearted and everything, but it was also a serious conversation.
What kind of construction projects can be done while practicing social distancing, or are your services falling under essential services, housing, and so that's excused in a way?
Well, when this thing started happening, we were scrambling to try to find the right kind of, and not to be too critical of the scenario, but I don't feel like there's been a lot of real clear cut guidance on things like these 10 different kinds of companies or services are all, quote unquote essential, and these ones are not. So we were left in a scenario to try to determine what we felt was essential or not essential. And I think through some guidance with other business owners within construction, as well as some other like neighboring fields, I decided that we would just sit down and have like a roundtable meeting at the company and decide what we felt was essential versus non-essential. And the ultimate conclusion on that for us was we were going to finish the kitchen and bathroom jobs that we were in the middle of, because we felt like kitchens and bathrooms being completed were essential for our customers. Nobody wants to not have their kitchen during this situation when you're staying home trying to cook. So we finished those up and decided that transitioning to outside work was going to be the best opportunity for us to follow the social distancing and not, be around a lot of people and things that we could do. So basically, at this point, we're very close to completely have transitioned to outside jobs. The only thing that we're doing inside houses is little stuff to wrap up some of the jobs that we had.
You said you relied on other peers in construction. What types of Kansas businesses are you talking about?
I called two of my major competitors here in town, myself and my business partner Nick, and we discussed the scenario surrounding what was going on, and we didn't necessarily have like a formal meeting or anything, but we all just kind of asked each other what was happening and what our plans were, and I think we all kind of came to the same conclusion. So other remodelers, and then a friend of mine that owns a business here in town. You may have heard of Free State Brewery, Chuck Magrill. We've done some work on their house, but um, Chuck is pretty connected to the political end of this as far as some of the lawmakers and decision makers in Topeka. So he had some interesting insight on that, and I leaned on some of his input and advice and stuff like that. And then I've got another friend in Kansas City that owns a foundation company, and I called him, and he's a very intelligent, knowledgeable, informed person. So he had some really good insight. He helped me come up with the conclusion that we would kind of decide as a group what was essential for us.
What was the consensus of their advice for you? Was it to really identify what was essential by your definition?
I think the consensus among the remodeling companies, and also the foundation company, was just to transition to exterior work and increase our social distancing and cleanliness, and just kind of improve protocol on that end as far as what we're doing within the company. So they're all, I think, to my knowledge at this point, everybody's kind of doing the same thing on that end. We're all working one guy to a job or two guys to a job if they can be separated, and trying to transition 100% to outside work.
So you referred earlier to having a roundtable discussion at your own company and getting a reality check on the buy-in. Am I reading between the lines that company morale is really critical right now? And maybe even looking back as a business owner, you yourself might want to in the future be even more mindful about the morale of your employees and the fact that they're always bought in. And I'm not picking on you. I'm talking about any business owner out there watching this.
Yeah, I feel like we're pretty good at this overall at Construction Specialty. I think it's maybe one of the strongest pieces of what I have going on at this company, and I'm really proud about that. I feel like everybody that works at my company feels the same way I do, that we're all kind of a family and we're kind of in this together. I think I was really lucky to have that going into this, but definitely I doubled down on it. When this thing first started happening, because it was something that I identified early that we needed to make sure that the morale was positive at this time. And I think my personal philosophy, but also within the company, is to more or less share all of the information, like give it to them straight, and then just sit back and listen to what everybody has to say. And so that's especially the first couple of meetings that we had about this, I just made sure that everybody had input on the conversation, and I shared some graphs and videos and different things to make sure that everybody understood what the seriousness of, and then got to hear maybe how scared they were or the questions, and that kind of stuff, and try to get everybody to a baseline of sanity.
And that communication and the two-way street, I'm assuming, is a strength of yours always. Would you advise business owners to take any tips from that, or are there any other tips that you would relay?
Well, again, to stay out of the political arena too much with this, but I feel like that's the opposite of what some of our leaders have done. And that's something that was very frustrating for me early on about the communication about all of this. And I think it's still going on to some degree with the PPP and the EIDL and all the government lending and different things that's happening there. It's not straightforward. It's not clear cut. There's too many opportunities for gray areas and people making mistakes, and all that does is create doubt. And so that's, again, one of the things that I wanted to make sure was not happening here. I don't want my employees doubting what it is that I'm saying. And when I tell everybody to wear masks, I want them to wear masks. I don't want them to wear masks until they leave my shop, and then not wear masks at at people's houses or at Home Depot or wherever it is that they're going. So early on, I had the conversation about people pretending that they were sick so that they didn't get other people sick, and thinking about this thing from that mindset, because I think that that's one of the most important things that I've seen shared with all of this. And to be honest, we don't see a lot of this in Kansas as much as what you're seeing in New York and some of the other places. And I think we're insulated with being in the middle of the country, but I think it's also because we adopted some of these social distancing methods a little bit quicker than some of the other people did as far as a timeline of infection goes. So those two things, which are both, technically social distancing, have helped us here. But then on the other end, I worry a little bit about people getting a little bit lazy with this at this point. I see a lot more cars on the street now than I did 2 weeks ago. So that's a little scary too.
All right. And in full disclosure, my company, Matty D Media, produces video marketing content on an ongoing basis for construction specialties. And a lot of that you've been seeing layered here with action footage. Some of that action footage is from the past and not necessarily during this pandemic moment. So, Mike, anything you would like to say that I didn't guide with questions?
If anybody out there is looking for handyman small projects a little bit here and there, we've got some availability for that. We're pretty busy overall still, but we're definitely taking exterior jobs, siding and windows, and exterior painting. So if anybody's looking for that kind of work, I would also tell everybody to still wear your masks and keep the social distancing up as much as you can. This thing's not over yet. Um, Wait out the end of April date, and let's hope that we keep this thing under control here in Lawrence, Kansas.
Okay, absolutely. Mike, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with this. And if you are a small business owner watching this and you'd like to contribute, just email me at mattydmedia@gmail.com. Mike, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Matt.